Welcome to the world of superbikes, a world of high-speed machinery, fearless riders and spectacular racing. At the Mugello racetrack in Italy, two-times world champion Fred Merkel takes us on a track tour and race commentator Chris Carter picks up the ride.
Past the pits in top gear, it's an uphill climb, but even so, by the end of the straight, you're doing 175 miles or so. And now it's time to go over to the left, ready for turn one. Down the gearbox, 5th, 4th, 3rd and 2nd for this 80-mile-an-hour bend. The trick is to keep the throttle in one position and stay smooth round the corner. Stay in 2nd for turn 2 with the left-hander. And at turn 3, the right-hander that follows. Up into 3rd, out of the corner and hard on the gas. And back down to 2nd for turn 4, the left-hander. Keep it in 2nd for turn 5, the right-hand part of this chicane-style section. Into 3rd gear and hard on the gas down the hill. Turn 6 coming up. You just touch the front brake at the entrance, but the surface is rough where the big cars have rippled the tarmac. But the speed here depends how well you get through this turn 7. Out of turn 7, stick into 4th gear and hold it in 4th for turn 8. Again, smoothness is crucial. Keep it in 4th for the short straight leading to turn 9. Down into 3rd. Then 2nd at the top of the hill, ready for turn 10. Right, then left into turn 11. Up into 5th, then 6th, but be careful here, there's a big bump on the exit. You can't see it, but you mustn't hit it. At that speed, you'd crash. Down to 3rd gear for turn 12, a long, sweeping right-hand bend that goes on and on. The exit here crucial to set you up right for the next sections, turns 13 and 14. Definitely the fastest chicane on the track. Hit 4th out of turn 12, keep it in 4th for the left and right, out of the chicane, up into 5th, down into 4th, then 3rd for turn 15, the long left-hander that takes you back onto the start and finish straight. Mugello, hard work for men and machines. Thanks, buddy. That's how a two-time Superbike world champion does it.
Superbike racing is the newest and fastest growing series on two wheels, and it's primarily the machines themselves that have made the series so popular. What is a superbike? Well, four-stroke machines that are four-cylinder 750s or twin cylinders between 750 and 1000 cc's. Visually, the machines must remain the same as showroom models. Keeping that showroom appearance, engineers and tuners can work within a set of guidelines to improve the performance. All machines must conform to a minimum weight regulation, which is lower for the twins than the four-cylinder bikes. But with both, weight-conscious builders can use special materials like carbon fibre or aluminium. Tuners can boost the performance of an engine, but parts like crankcases, cylinder barrels and cylinder heads must remain the same. No changes can be made to the standard means of carburation, whether normally aspirate or fuel injected. Exhaust systems can be altered to improve the performance of the machine. Different wheels can be fitted. To cope with high speeds and cornering, special racing tyres are allowed. In the main, 3 kinds of tyres are used: slicks for the dry, intermediate for the damp, full wets for the rain. Front forks and rear suspension units can be altered to assist handling and safety. But the bottom line is, superbikes that are raced on Sunday are basically those road machines that you can buy from your local dealer on Monday. World Superbike racing attracts a strong pedigree of rider. They come from many different countries, each man with a different attitude to racing and his own personal racing style, a style which will be tested to the limit on some of the most famous racing circuits in the world. At the start of 1991, it was the might of the Ducati factory that topped the list of contenders. The reigning champion Raymond Roche had proved he had all the ingredients to do the job. The 33-year-old Frenchman is like fine wine. He improves with age. Stefan Mertens, the Belgian, had switched from factory Honda to works Ducati. The lanky 31-year-old former Grand Prix star would still run his own team though, and aim to improve on the previous year's third-place finish. It would take Stefan time to adjust to the twin-cylinder power of the Ducati, but when he got going, his performance would be outstanding. Giancarlo Filappa, Roche's teammate on the Works Ducati, had suffered serious injuries that put him out for most of the 1990 season. Even so, he grabbed 9th place in the points table. The 26-year-old Italian has fought back to race again when many thought his career was over. But the biggest threat to Roche retaining his title would come from Texan Doug Poland. He was signed by the American-based Fast by Faraci squad and had already proved that he and the Ducati would be a formidable combination. 1990 runner-up Italian Fabrizio Pirovano spearheaded the Yamaha Challenge in formidable style. The 30-year-old diminutive former motocross star is so small and light he'd be a front-runner on any machine thanks to his weight advantage. If Pirovano is small and light, then you could say that Loctite Yamaha's Terry Reimer is tall and lanky. The then 23-year-old Londoner hit the international scene in a big way in '89 and might well have done even better than 7th in 1990 if he'd ridden in every round. Reimer's teammate in the British-based squad was the 31-year-old Rob McElnay. Burly Rob is probably twice as big as Pirovano, but that hasn't slowed him in the past. The Brits had been given factory tuning aids, just like Pirovano, for the '91 season, and that would ring warning bells for the opposition. With Merton switching to Ducati, it would leave American Fred Merkel to lead the Honda attack. Injuries had stopped Flying Fred in 1990. The 27-year-old Californian would be a tough man to beat as he searched for his third world crown. Baldassare Monti blossomed in 1990. Quietly spoken, surprisingly modest and unassuming, he perhaps would be the dark horse of '91. With 3 TT Formula One World Championships under his belt, 24-year-old Carl Fogarty had already achieved more than many riders would do in a lifetime. But the British racer now wanted a Superbike world title as well. And with the latest 91 RC31 Honda, there would be no reason to believe he couldn't achieve his ambition. Neil Mackenzie, Fogarty's teammate in the Silcoline Honda UK squad. With a glittering past in 500 World Championships, the 29-year-old Scotsman Neil has the pedigree and the motivation to take the title as well. Rob Phillis's efforts had virtually single-handedly kept Kawasaki alive in this series. Short in stature, but big in bravery and talent, the little 35-year-old Australian family man clocked up 2 wins in 1990, but could he put together a run that would give him the World Championship title in '91? Local boy John Reynolds would be a popular winner with the Donington Park fans. Could he spring the big surprise and beat the star-studded opposition? Not just because John was a British boy, but more importantly because he lives just 15 miles from the track and his family and friends would be packed in the Donington grandstand. Some of the best riders on some of the finest machinery at the start of a new season. Over the winter, there had been plenty of time to reflect on the successes and failures of the previous year.
Early in the 1990 Diesel Jeans World Superbike Championship, 2 times world champion, American Fred Merkel, was plagued with a series of tyre problems and breakdowns on the Team Remy Honda. Then an accident during practice for an endurance race in Japan left him with spine injuries serious enough to keep him out of the series until the Italian round at Monza in October. That left the field clear for Raymond Roche and his Italian factory Ducati teammate Giancarlo Filappa to stake their championship claim. And right from the start, it was clear there were no team orders. Filappa showed no respect for his teammates' age, experience or reputation. Roche, Mertens, Filappa and Pirovano, who were the top 5. So on to Mosport, Canada, where it was Filappa's turn to strike bad luck. But Roche's championship hopes were aided by the appearance of American Ducati star Jamie James. Filappa was back for the Austrian round, but it was a short-lived comeback, as he crashed heavily in timed practice and was out for the rest of the year. Fellow Italian Fabrizio Pirovano proved his ability in the rain here at Selfway. Roche maintained his championship challenge at Sugo in Japan by winning the first race. But it was the American, Doug Chandler, just 23 years of age, who stole the show with a third place and a win on the Muzzy Kawasaki. Roche delighted his home fans by winning both races at Le Mans. Monza in October, the Italian round. And conditions were treacherous. The partisan crowd wanted to see the Ducati do well. It didn't, but there was consolation. The Italian Pirovano and Monti gave the fans something to celebrate. With just 3 rounds to go, Roche looked unbeatable. But the battle for second place was far from over. Down under, at Phillip Island, Australia, Roche clinched the title. But all Aussie fans will remember is the finish of race 2, where Rob Phillips, Malcolm Campbell and Peter Goddard provided a glorious example of the competitiveness of superbike racing with this exciting photo finish. Roche, embarrassed by his cautious title-winning ride in Australia, promised a champion's performance in the final round in New Zealand. But he hadn't taken into account the ambitions of Britain's Terry Reimer, who won his first superbike race of the year after 25 attempts, with Roche second. Then, in race 2, the final race of the year, there was even more drama. As Roche's Ducati broke down, Rob McElnay crashed his Yamaha, trying to pass teammate Terry Reimer, forcing him to take to the grass. That left Rob Phillips to go on to another victory. So, Raymond Roche, the clear world champion. Pirovano made sure of second place in the series, with Mertens crashing yet again and having to settle for third in the final point standings. Rob Phillips was 4th overall, just getting the better of Rob McElnay.
Roche had proved he was very much the man to beat.
Some people like paint, me I like drive.
Raymond started racing back in 1974 at the tender age of 17, but within just 3 seasons he was racing at Grand Prix level. His passion for bikes had started as a toddler, but even then he was perfecting his racing technique. In 1981 he was the Endurance World Champion. From there he switched to the 500cc class, racing on works Hondas and Yamahas, and then the Cagiva factory returned to Grand Prix, and Roche was the man they picked to race for them. But now a new exciting world championship was being launched, Superbikes, and the men who owned Cagiva and Ducati were interested. They felt that hard-riding Roche with 4-stroke experience from his endurance days was the man they needed.
Mr. Castiglioni said, I think it's important to be here, to be front in a superbike. I said, okay, I have no possibility to have a good 500. I said, okay, I go superbike. I like these races.
And superbike fans liked him. In front of his home crowd at Le Mans last year, Raymond won both races, just part of a great season that saw him crowned champion, a clear 57 points ahead of the rest.
So that's Roche the racer. But what about Roche the man? Now he lives in a luxury house near the French Riviera town of Bandol, a long way removed from his humble beginnings as one of a large family growing up near Toulon. His home is in the countryside. It's away from the crowds, but it's close enough for him to enjoy family life and pursue his 2 main interests. In fact, it's a perfect location.
It's between the sea and the Porica, 2 passions, one track and one the sea. I'm jogging every day. I'm old man now, it's necessary to be careful. And I have so many bikes, Ducati, Cagiva, Triumph. I repair, I clean. I have a boat for fishing. I like fishing, tuna, fishing. Yeah, it's good passion. This year we have so many races in August. It's a good season for fishing. I have no choice.
The beginning of the 1990 season, and former 500 Grand Prix world champion Barry Sheene drops into Donington Park in England to talk to Rob Phillips, the Australian, and some old friends.
Robbie, it's your first year doing the full first year doing the World Superbike Championship. How do you find it?
Everyone's competitive. Luckily, I'm competitive too, which is good for me. It's a lot more popular than 500 because everyone can go and buy a bike.
Sheen has now retired from racing, but in his eyes, the days of the 500 bikes may be numbered.
You know, now if you look at the superbike thing, they're sort of derived from road bikes, but you get a grid of 36 or 40 riders, and the 500cc World Championship now is getting a little bit farcical because there's about 14 bikes on the start line, or 16. It's a shame, really.
Marco Lucanelli has since become the manager of the Ducati Superbike team, but he remembers the day that Sheen gave him some special advice.
Yeah, and when I went world champion in Imola, Barry said to me, please change tires, because I changed tires and I win the race.
And I was second.
And Barry second.
By now it was 1990 and the Superbike World Championship was in its third year. Mick Grant was another of Sheen's old sparring partners with some strong opinions as well.
My big worry and concern at the minute is the 500 Grand Prix. You know, it's on a hiding to nothing. It's, I think, not far from its end. I'm sure that people Kenny wouldn't really agree with me. I'd like to see that formulated to let 4 strokes into it, so the factors have a reason for actually going racing, and to keep the cost down. Because at the minute, you know, with only sort of 9 people finishing Grand Prix, it can't go on much longer. I think I'd like to see 4 strokes in there, and if we could get that, then I think we'd be flying again.
12 months later and the teams were back at Donington Park. By now, Roche was world champion. But at this, the first round, the little Frenchman was having problems on the grid. It was not a good day for Raymond Roche on the factory Ducati.
The Frenchman stalled the engine on the starting grid and needed a push from his mechanics to restart the machine. And when the starting lights finally changed from red to green, Roche was not quick on the line. To the delight of the British fans, it was local boy Terry Reimer who led the pack away. And Reimer, the tall young Londoner, was still in front on the Loctite Yamaha as they rounded Redgate for the first time. But the Belgian, Stefan Mertens, out for the first time on the factory Ducati, moved swiftly through the pack to grab the lead from the British boy. But Mertens' joy did not last for long. The wind that chilled the bones of the dedicated fans proved a danger to riders too, and a sudden strong gust literally blew Mertens off the bike. There was more drama as Raymond Roche's Ducati broke an oil pipe, putting him out. That left Reimer out in front, chased by Italian Sari Monti, until the Team Rummy rider lost it at Coppice Corner. And Monti's teammate, American Fred Merkel, went out when his Honda engine blew. Fred was not pleased. Doug Poland, the Ducati-mounted Texan, was ahead going into the final corner, but Reimer mounted one last attack at Goddard's, only to overshoot, leaving the American to score maximum points, with Reimer second and the Italian Fabrizio Pirovano third. Everyone was back in action in race 2 though, and this 25-lapper flew a very different story. Reimer's teammate Rob McElnay and Sari Monti set the early pace. But soon McElnay was joined by Reimer, with Roche, for one, again making a slow start. Australian Rob Phillips on the Shinetsu Kawasaki took command, but then he was passed by Stefan Mertens.
Mertens went on to win, a convincing and well-deserved victory. The next race would be at the Jarama racetrack outside Madrid, where Doug Poland, in his first year in the World Superbike Series, would dominate the race, giving everyone a taste of what was to come. Challenge to defending champion Roche. The second race would be no less a battle. Ducati first, second and third, but which riders and in which order?
Away they go then, the start of the second race. And the charge is on to the first corner, and I promise you they'll be a little bit more discreet, or at least I suspect they will. And Raymond Roche, number 1, making a good start. Baldassare Monti, Rob Phillips up there. Udo Mark, number 17, again with a good start. And this time I think everybody safely around turn 1, but not everybody around turn 2. And Baldassare Monti and Rob Phillips.
In the heat of the battle, Aussie and Italian showed that sometimes it is possible to forgive, but they wouldn't necessarily forget. Poland, however, on number 23, was invincible.
Just a few yards, the checkered flag is ready. Poland is going to win.
So, Poland had taken the second race here in Jarama. In recent years, Americans have dominated the 500 Grand Prix series. Was it going to be the same story here in World Superbike? Superbikes are high-speed machines based on regulations that need careful policing. That's where the technical inspection comes in. Weight is carefully controlled. Both the four-cylinder bikes and the twins must make the minimum weight laid down in the rules. Other parts, like carburetors, must be measured to make sure that they haven't been changed or tampered with. Every rider has a card to show the bike's been through tech inspection. The checkover is done without exception on every bike before every practice and every race. There's another reason for giving the bikes a careful look over. Officials check for cracks, leakages, and anything else that might go wrong. The bikes must be legal and safe, every single one of them. Britain's Terry Reimer is yet another man with a gritty determination to take the Superbike World Championship title. 1991 saw him racing with the Loctite Yamaha team.
My first sponsor once said to me, life is like a race. The green light starts, you're born, and then you do as much as you possibly can within the time you've got until the checker flag comes out. And that's basically the way I go about life.
Terry Reimer, one of the jokers in our pack of Superbike heroes. When he's not on a bike, Reimer's as mild and friendly as they come. But see that number 7 of his over your shoulder, and you've got problems.
I was attracted to motorcycle racing because it was exciting, and I used to go to a lot of race meetings with my dad, and used to watch all the Grand Prix and stuff like that in the late 70s and early 80s. I started racing in 1984 when I was 17 years old on a 250 Yamaha, which I bought from a local dealer from me called Grozzo Motorcycles, and he actually later went on to sponsor me.
That same talent was spotted by Steve Parish, a well-known racer himself and manager of Team Loctite. Theirs is a business relationship that's grown into a warm friendship.
What makes Terry Reimer special? I think what makes him pretty special is the fact that he thinks about his racing a lot more than some of the other riders of his age. And okay, compared to the American riders, maybe he isn't young, but compared to the European riders, he's still very much the youth in the pack. And at the end of the day, no good at how good you ride your motorcycle, the bike has to be set up properly. And he works very hard at that, and topped off with his natural ability and natural talent, then Terry Reimer's going to go a long way.
Terry uses the racing number 7, the same one that top British rider Barry Sheene used in his heyday. And even Barry Sheene would recognise Terry's awesome talent on a track.
1985, I won 147 races out of 152 starts, which I was quite pleased with. And basically I was racing like 5 times a weekend and really done a lot of hard work. And one season was like 2 seasons of any other rider. As I said, this is why we spent so much money on my racing and really tried hard. And hopefully it's paying off now.
Now racing's a full-time job for Terry. When he's not out racing or testing, there's other work to be done, like opening a new motorcycle shop. Terry's looked up to by today's young riders who seek his advice, but he's had heroes of his own.
I think one of the greatest influences was Marco Lucanelli on my racing, because I used to idolise him and watch him in the late 70s and early 80s.
Yeah, the first time he said to me, I was your fan when I was young, he's in Portugal in '88, but he stayed in front of me in a race.
For Terry, like most superbike riders, backup at home in England is just as important as support out on the racetrack.
My family are really important to me because they've really helped me in racing, and also I've got a lovely fiancée, Tracy. I've got great friends that really support me, and that's what really pushed me along in life, pushed me along in racing. Without them, it'd be so much harder. And I think whatever happens, I'm going to have a great life ahead of me.
It's a life that's already seen him go from schoolboy motocrosser to top-flight superbike competition, and onwards towards his eventual goal.
I believe I can be world champion. Otherwise, I wouldn't actually be here racing now. A lot of people say to me, whenever I do anything, I try to do it to win. You know, I don't see any point of doing anything unless you're going to do it to win. And I like to be competitive. And if I don't win, I try next time to win, even more. So a lot of people think I'm mad, but I don't think so. I just like to win.
Three-time Formula One world champion, winner of several Isle of Man TTs, and he's still only 25. Carl Fogarty, the Peter Pan of superbikes.
When he was about barely when he could walk, he wanted a motorcycle of some kind. We got him a small one.
His father, George.
So all his life in race paddocks and wherever he's been, he's had a motorbike. And then when he went into motocross, when it was dry, good grief, he used to frighten everyone to death because he were born everywhere. But when it was wet, he used to struggle because his legs weren't all that long, so he couldn't get out of the mud that as easy.
George Fogarty was no mean racer himself, so he knows the right technique to get the best out of Carl. And encouragement comes in all forms.
Time to get a move on, or else.
He raced for 20 years, and I was around as like a youngster, like around the paddock playing about and that. And I got interest from that, obviously, and I always wanted to do it, but I couldn't have done it on my own. I mean, he bought me my first bike, and that. Yeah, it probably cut a few corners, but you still got to ride the thing at the end of the day, and I proved that.
I saw something in him many years ago. Well, even in motocross, in road racing. So I had to help him. If Carl's been interested in motorbikes, I'd help somebody else. I'd looked for another good lad, but obviously Carl, to me, is brilliant, and he's proving it. So obviously, I've got to help him any way I can. Either through talking to sponsors or talking to other people.
They're a close but competitive pair, both with the rider's intense desire to win. But who's the best, father or son?
Yeah, difficult question. I mean, they always say who's the best ever, like between Roberts and like Aylward and people like that, but I don't know, there's no such thing really as the greatest ever, just best of their time, I think, and my time was a bit different than my dad's time.
George stopped racing just 10 years ago. He's seen the changes in the sport. The private racer has a hard time these days.
It's much better when you can be set up with a team, and the team runs the machines, and all the other rider has to worry about, and that is getting himself fit and keeping himself fit, and just looking at the machines and discussing things with the mechanics. When you ride for yourself and you've got to do your own work, then it's a nightmare.
Having raced in both Superbikes and Grand Prix, Carl can judge which one he prefers.
I prefer Superbike because it's on the short circuits more than on the roads, and I think the atmosphere and everything to do with Superbike is a lot more pleasant than... I had a dabble at Grand Prix last year when the atmosphere was, in Superbike is a lot better than Grand Prix. I don't know, I sometimes see riders like meditating and things like that, and I just kind of think happy-go-lucky, and I get on the bike and ride, even if it wasn't handling right, which is the case most of the time, or it's not set up right, or I haven't got new tyres, and I just still go out and give 100%, whereas a lot don't. They go out and just, finish 5th or 6th and collect a few £100, they're happy at that, but I'd probably risk anything to win, and that's just the way I am, whether it's bad or whether it's good, that's just me.
On matters of safety, the World Series riders stood firm when it came to the Canadian race at Mossport.
With the regular competitors boycotting the meeting, there was just 17 riders on the grid for the first race, 12 Canadians and 5 Americans. And it was the youngest rider in the race, 21-year-old Pascal Picot, who led the pack into turn 1, chased by Yves Brisson and American Tom Kipp. Soon, Kipp was up into second place, chasing Picot. At the end of that opening lap, the order was Picot, Kipp, Steve Crevier, Ruben McMurter and Yves Brisson. McMurter, at 35, a race veteran, swept past Crevier to take third place. But dramatically after just 3 laps, Kipp's Yamaha struck trouble and he was out. That left Brisson, McMurter and Crevier 3 abreast past the pits. But McMurter was now in trouble. Crevier went by when his Honda went sick. Out front, though, Picot had an enormous lead, while McMurter was touring back to the pits. But Picot was having some worrying moments of his own. That was Frank Mrazak, the 55-year-old veteran, almost unseating Picot on turn 5. Steve Crevier will not be joining the Klein McDonald fan club either.
Picot ran home an easy winner, followed by Yves Brisson and Steve Crevier, with Lindley Clark in 4th.
Race 2 had Tom Kipp and Ruben McMurter back on the grid with their bikes repaired. But again, it was Picot who headed the field into turn 1, with Kipp and McMurter almost touching as they left the grid. Behind Picot came Kipp and Yves Brisson. Further back, Canadian Michael Taylor, who'd been 5th in race 1 on a Kawasaki, took a spectacular fall. Trying to ride round the opposition on turn 8 is not recommended. Picot had a big slide at Moss Corner, and that allowed Kipp and Brisson to close the gap.
Kip moved level with Picot, and Brisson was looking threatening too. Into turn one, the three-way scrap continued, and the trio was still locked in battle a lap later. But Picot's race was over. The Yamaha wouldn't rev over 10,000 RPM. Soon, Kip was well clear of Brisson, and he was being caught by Crevier, Clark and McMurter. Kip had a comfortable lead, but Brisson was being rapidly overhauled by the chasing trio. And once the group had caught Brisson, they all soon passed him, but it wasn't over yet. And what was now a four-man scrap had the fans on their feet with excitement for the last few laps. But ahead of the group going into the final corner was Californian Phil Kress running out of fuel. Kip took the flag, an easy winner, and Lindley Clark grabbed second place from McMurter, Brisson and Crevier.
Dominated in front of his home crowd. While the American began to get a grip on the World Championship, threatening Roche's title, he and every other rider knew that things can sometimes go very, very wrong.
Superbike racing is exciting, glamorous and decidedly dangerous. The risks are calculated and every conceivable safety measure that a rider can take is taken. So what are the things a rider can do to protect himself?
We wear a padded suit and a helmet for protection. And for me, the helmet, this is the most important thing.
Giancarlo Filappa has been known to crash from time to time, and his tumble at Brad shows how important that helmet can be.
This part is the safety lining of a helmet, and this part takes about 80% of the shock absorbance if you destroy the helmet. The shell takes about 20%.
The helmet is first. You have to have a very good helmet, a new helmet.
And Merkel's off! A good helmet to protect the head, but what about the rest of the body?
Right, here we have a set of my racing leathers, which are staying easy. Racing suit, which is made out of leather. It's probably the best protection for a motorcycle racer to use. The back, all we use is a back protector. On some they're built in, some you can put them in after. I usually put mine in later, I find it more comfy that way. Which is again really hard plastic, very rigid, and you can obviously bend to when you're in a racing position.
The stitching is very important. You only can see one here, but there are two more inside, just in case you damage the first one here.
Racing suits, whether leather or substances like Kevlar, are made to measure. For someone else in some cases, eh, Massimo? Other safety products come in just one size.
The viewers at home have probably wondered how us riders drag our knees around the floor. Well, this is called a knee scraper, and this is put on the actual knee, and you drag your knee on the ground. This stops you from wearing out your leather.
How long a slider lasts depends on a rider's angle of dangle. Knee, that is. Leathers must fit right, but properly fitting gloves are equally crucial.
The only unfortunate thing about gloves, they still don't stop your hands from breaking. Like I've got more lumps than Ayers Rock on the back of my hand, and unfortunately I had a lever go through there, so you still get the maximum protection you can, but you can still take a bit of skin off them occasionally, or break a bone.
Superbikes are quick, real quick, with top speeds approaching 180 miles an hour.
And as far as tracks go, track safety, it's real important to have a lot of runoff. You know, you can go real fast, and it's actually not how fast you fall down, it's how fast your body stops when you run into something. That's where the injuries come from.
We refused to go to Canada because there was no runoff on very fast corners, and it was far too dangerous to race there. And also the circuit owner had plenty of time to time and warning to get the track up to safety standards. He didn't do that, so unfortunately we didn't actually ride there.
It was a track lined with Armco barrier that led to the Mosport boycott. But runoffs, like here in Jarama, reduced the risk.
Gravel pits can stop a runaway train or even an out-of-control racing motorcycle. Without a sand or gravel pit, there's little to slow a rider or his bike. But properly used, the benefits of strategic straw bales can speak for themselves. Everyone in bike racing knows the dangers. Crashes are inevitable, but we'd like them all to end like this one.
Australia has produced a number of top motorcycle riders. Rob Phillis is a classic example, a great individual, laughing and joking one moment and reflective the next.
What really got me into motorcycle racing to start with is that, like, I was a dud at football and stuff like that at sports at school. I went off on this dirt bike on a road race track, and I've won these 2 races and second in another 2 and third in the other 2 on the first day. Then I went to, for the next 6 months, every time I rode the bike, I got a lap record or fastest time or won a race. So naturally, I think that this is me. I found something that I'm good at. So I never ever thought that I'd be here doing what I am today. Like my mind was so useless when I was a young kid, you know, like I didn't even know what an Australian Championship was. All I wanted to do was go out there and race and win.
Racing is never easy, and Rob Phillis is disarmingly frank about himself.
I've made a few mistakes in my career, mainly because I'm not that intelligent, I guess. I don't know, maybe I'm not stupid, but like I do some pretty dumb things occasionally, you know. Like I don't look into the future. I only live for tomorrow, basically. You can tell that by my bank account.
Life on the other side of the world, far away from his family, can't be easy, but Phillis seems to have got it sorted.
I think I cope really well. My family copes fairly well as well. You know, like that's what I think makes Kawasaki, our team Kawasaki, a good team, is that we can all live away from home. We don't have any arguments. Sure, we get homesick, but not like a lot of European people and American people. Like we're not scared. This is my home. I live in it. But when I'm at the circuit, all I want to do is beat every other rider, and I like to have a good time doing it. You know, like it's good fun. I'm here making dinner for the boys. Like it's all good for me. I feel good about being able to do different things, you know, and it just keeps my mind occupied, and it's good fun.
Rob Phillis is always game for a laugh, whether it's at home or on the race circuit.
I enjoy life a lot, and the most fun I've had in years is doing the World Superbike Championship. And if it keeps going the way it is, I don't want to stop, you know. But I want my family to be with me for next year so they can enjoy it as well. Because, like, it's perfect. You know, it's all new, it's all fresh, and I feel like I want to race again, you know, like I want to win.
Tomorrow night's 8 p.m. bike slot is a double bill of Road Rage and MCN. Back to tonight, and it's Motors time with everything from the test track in Secrets of Speed.